So I'm here to introduce the executive director of the Long Now Foundation, Alexander Rose. He's a designer, he's an inventor, he's a builder, he's a guy with a number of patents that he's won. He's not a mere onlooker like myself, a commentator, but a guy who's pretty much right down there with the pickaxes, the chainsaws, and the rock dust. Here is Alexander Rose.
This effort by the Long Now Foundation really started as a loose group, really a conversation among a set of people who kept bringing up this idea of long-term thinking and areas where clearly it wasn't being addressed. You know, what is the time scale of the long now? And it's not a astronomical billions of year time scale. It's kind of dwarfing of the human experience. It's very difficult to think that you have any real effect on that time scale. It's not even this geologic millions of year time scale. What we're after is exactly what Bill mentioned of the Anthropocene. The idea that now is not just right now, it's not the 5 minutes that we're in, but it's the human experience moment, which roughly started when the last ice age retreated and what we now know as civilization started. And so we felt if you can look back this far in the Anthropocene, you should be able to look forward this far as well. And this becomes our human moment, or our human now. When I started working with Danny Hillis in 1997, one of the first things that we set out to do was to build just one complete prototype. And we started looking at all the timepieces that had ever been created, and we started measuring them against these 5 principles: longevity, maintainability, transparency, evolvability, and scalability. And these all seem pretty self-explanatory, but basically the idea that we should make it out of materials that last. We are allowing for a certain amount of maintenance, but that maintenance should not require very high-tech means, that it should be transparent. You can look at it and understand it. This is why this is not a big electronic clock. You know, it's very difficult to reverse engineer silicon chips and things like that. If the display is dead when you get there, you don't even know what it was trying to show. That it should evolve. Things like calendar systems clearly aren't going to last for 10,000 years. So we should make it so that people can update it. And that it should be scalable so that we can build small prototypes. A couple of the parts that are being built of it right now are the power system and the chime generator. The chime generator is one of the more complex machines within the clock that can sequence a series of 10 bells in a different sequence each day for 10,000 years. So over 3.5 million bell sequences. One of the parts that really literally just got completed within a few months ago was one of the largest gears in the clock, this 316 stainless gear. Also 3-dimensionally carved teeth that only have rolling friction. And one of the most critical elements of the clock is all ceramic unlubricated bearings. So there's no lubrication and there's no metal-to-metal contact in any of the rolling points. The fact that we have to invent our own tools for this process, and many great land artists and many great artists have had to invent their own tools, and we're trying to create 3-dimensionally carved underground spaces in rock without a lot of blasting for the areas around the clock that we need to keep very secure so they're not overbroken and fall in. So things like the spiral staircase and conical shape that's going to be sculpted out of that raise. So by combining some of the technology from the mining and as well as quarrying industry and working with this amazing group up in Seattle called Seattle Solstice, we've taken a 9-foot long diamond chainsaw, basically made for quarrying rock, and then built a 3-axis robot that can carve with it. And this is it cutting through 5 feet of solid concrete. The idea is that to carve the stairs, we'll be lowering this down into that raised bore that you saw, and you'll do a cut every 3 inches and break out the material in between, making these nice, beautiful shapes in solid rock. If you then kind of shake and bake that and repeat it for a year or 2, you end up with the 300 feet of vertical spiral stairs that we need to create. Just a reminder of how relevant the 10,000-year time frame can be even to your daily life. Just this March in Japan, that earthquake was considered a once in 10,000-year event. The tsunami itself was only a once in a few century event. But one of the more interesting stories that came out of that was these markers that were found in places in Japan. And this one read, "High dwellings are the peace and harmony of our descendants. Remember the calamity of the great tsunamis. Do not build homes below this point." And there was a lot of homes built below that point. So it's always a good reminder to me of what are the things that we are seeing as warnings about our own climate, our own larger time spans that we're either ignoring or paying attention to. Thank you.